Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see very important articles that appear in our today's newspaper. So let's get started with our discussion. First, I will let you know the important topics of the day, and later on we are going to analyze these articles. And at last, I'll be giving you prelims practice questions as well. Online students, please don't skip this video anywhere. Please do watch until last so that you'll be getting lots of insights regarding how to prepare current affairs for your examination. Okay, let us see the topics. The first one here is India's crude oil supply secure. No fuel shortage, says Minister in Ellis. So this article is talking about crude oil supply and as well as LPG supply shortage in India. Many articles in our today's newspaper is grabbed by this. And already in our yesterday's class, we discussed about from which countries we are importing this gas and what are the reasons why this gas shortage is there, and we also discussed about what are the measures taken by the government to overcome the situation. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under international relations. Next topic is Supreme Court to study what constitutes personal data in DPDP laws. Already we discussed about this article earlier. What we discussed was after amendment of this Digital Data Protection Act in India, there are certain changes we made to this RTI Act. Because of this, many petitions were filed in Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court is going to take this case, and now Supreme Court is going to say what exactly this personal data means. So just you have to revise about what are the things that were discussed in earlier class. So here you have to say about what is Right to Information Act, what is this DPDP new laws. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under polity and governance. And next topic is India co-sponsors resolution passed by United Nations Security Council against Iran. Yes, Iran also co-sponsored a resolution which is passed in United Nations Security Council regarding Iran's invasion on different countries which are present in this West Asia. So here you have to say about what is this United Nations Security Council and what is this resolution is about, why India co-sponsored. Even though many a times whatever the resolution had been placed or passed before this United Nations Security Council, never India had been co-sponsored. But for the first time, India co-sponsored one resolution. So because of this, you have to see about what are interest of India in this resolution, why India came up with this co-sponsoring. This will become very important this year. And this topic is important from your GS paper 2 under international relations. And next topic is parental income alone cannot set creamy layer status. It is one important update that you have to know. So you have to know about what is this creamy layer, what is this Indra Sahani judgment is about, and what is this reservation policy of our country, and in which areas this reservation is applied. And you have to say about, if not the only income status of the parents, then what are the criteria need to be taken to decide whether you are coming under this creamy layer or not. And this topic is important from your polity from GS paper 2. And next topic is preparing India for a true innovation-led economy. Actually, our country is having an ambitious goal of Viksit Bharat by 2047, that is developed country status by 2047. And we are focusing on innovations, improving of technology, everything. But one thing which we are not much focusing on is private sector contribution for our economic growth. That is the thing which mainly highlighted here. In this article, they gave certain data regarding why we are neglecting this private sector, everything, and we have to see this and we have to think about what are the measures can be taken to improve private sector participation in our economy so that we can achieve our target of Viksit Bharat 2047. And this topic is important from economy from GS paper 3. And next topic is women's participation, political participation in India. As you all know that there is gender gap, gender inequality in our country. So one thing that we can say that yes, there is inequality in our country through this women's participation in politics. And here you have to see about this 106 Constitutional Amendment Act, which talks about reservation. And even we have to say about 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, again which talks about reservation for women. So all these things that you have to collect the data regarding exactly women political participation in India, how it is there, and what are the challenges we are facing, and what kind of measures we can take. Okay, so these all are the topics of today's discussion. Now let us see the first one. Read the title, guys. See the title and read out the title. India's crude supply secure. No fuel shortage. Minister tells Lok Sabha. What is happening in our Lok Sabha? Which session is going on? Budget session. So in this budget session, we have different types of questions. So whenever this session is going on, we have question hour, we have 0 hour, and we have the rest of the day, right? So which kind of questions can be asked in question hour? How many types of questions are there? How many types, first of all, questions can be asked? How many types of questions? First one is star questions. Second one is unstarred. Next. That is not part of the types of questions. Start question, unstart question, and short notice questions. Okay. What are the start questions? They will be asked whenever we are getting that kind of questions. The reply should be there in oral format. If they are saying something orally, what happens? Supplementary questions can follow here. If I'm asking you any question, if you're saying something right or wrong, immediately I can ask one more question, right? So that is about the start question. And second one is unstart question. If I'm keeping a mains test to you, I'll be giving you the questions and I'll ask you to write down the answer. So can I ask immediate question while you are writing? No, right? So here answer should be given in written format. And next one here is there will be no supplementary questions followed. This is your interview, this is your mains exam, like that. And next one is questions of urgent public importance. So that answers should be given in oral format, but what is the time period we have to give them? Short notice. How many days of short notice we have to give them? 10 days? Okay, so like that we have 3 questions. Now, in our country there is shortage of LPG cylinders, and you are staying in hostels, you know better than me. There is breakfast cut, and even in yesterday's news, I saw that even in Chennai there were closure of hostels, and they are sending the people who are working in the companies back to the home. Work from home again started in this Chennai because of this for 3 months. Okay, till the situation gets normalized, they are coming back to their hometowns and they are going to work on online. So this kind of scarcity of LPG gas cylinders are there in our country now. Okay, so if this kind of issue is going on, will opposition party people will be silent whenever the session is going on? Do you think they will be silent? Always this opposition party people will be searching the reasons, searching the situations to ask the questions on these ruling party members. Now the situation they got, and now they started asking questions related to this LPG gas shortage. So now here this article is saying that minister is telling to Lok Sabha. Why minister tells Lok Sabha? If he is getting any question from opposition party leader only, he will be answering, right? So now minister is telling that India's crude supply is secure. No fuel shortage is there. Will you accept this? Yes? Okay, if you have to accept this situation, how can you say that there is no fuel shortage in India? Okay, give me some examples and reasons behind it. Yes? Okay, Indian ships are passing, and even there are many articles in newspaper that one Saudi Arabia related oil tanker reached India via the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, one reason which is there in our today's newspaper. Next. How can you say that there is no oil shortage in our country? Second one is we have strategic oil reserves that we discussed. So even if you're not getting any imports, how many days can we survive by using that strategic reserves? 40 to 50 days minimum we can survive. And this one here is in yesterday's or day before yesterday's article, what we discussed, because of the shortage of gas that we are getting from this Qatar, from where we are going to get now? From US and Norway. Yes. Next, other things. And even US gave sanction relief for India for what? To buy oil from this Russia for how many days? 30 days. So because of all these reasons, now minister said that there is no oil shortage in India. We are focusing on ensuring of proper supply. But now there is crunch of, but now why there is crunch of LPG cylinders? The reason here is, normally have you ever seen in the newspapers, if there is any news which appears that from tomorrow onwards 1 rupee or 2 rupees of petrol price hikes, then what happened? Throughout the night, we will be saying that queue in the petrol bunks, yes, just for a change of 1 or 2 rupees per a liter of oil, liter of petrol in that time. So we can say that, yeah, everyone will be going and everyone will be trying to fill their vehicles with this petrol, right? So in the same way, because of this kind of news that yes, we are going to have this issue of LPG, or like crude oil, there will be no petrol, there will be no diesel, like that, because of misinformation, misconsumptions. What is happening here is, now the people are booking in advance. So because of increasing of demand, now what is happening here, we are facing this LPG crunch in our country. That is a reason which mainly highlighted in many of our today's articles in the newspaper. Are you understanding? So here people got awareness because of increased science and technology, increased internet facilities, increased use of electronic gadgets, everything. So because of this, the panic which had been created in the people, and they are going and booking in advance. So because of this, what happened, whenever there is increased bookings, what happened, there will be decreasing of supply in the market. That is the reason why we are facing this crunch right now. That is the answer which is given by this government now. Clear? That is about this article, guys. So how can you expect a prelims question here? The same thing. You have to see about oil reserves, you have to see about gas, and you have to see about how this gas is produced, and you have to see about different types of these gases, like biogas. You have to see, LPG, LNG, what is the difference between all these types. Already UPSC asked question on this, and this year again you can get a question on this LPG, at which temperature we are going to store that, and what are the norms, and who will be controlling. And we have one board, right, which will be controlling about this natural gas, petroleum. On this, I think in 2023 or 2024 there was a question on this petroleum natural gas regulating board. So you have to see about this regulating board of oil, natural gas in our country. This time you may get the question on this also. Okay, now let us see here. The statement comes because of severe global energy crisis triggered by ongoing conflict in West Asia, specifically closure of Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping for 13 days. And actually this Strait of Hormuz is controlling around 20% of world's crude oil, natural gas and LPG. Because of this, again it is in news. And now we are having this budget session, and obviously the questions will be asked on this energy crisis now. Because of this, our minister are giving reply related to this. Okay. And what are the steps taken by the government? The same thing which is there here. So now you guys tell me here, if there is a shortage of crude oil in our country, shortage of LPG cylinders in our country, what will be the possible impact on our economy? What will be the positive impact if you are not having proper supply of crude oil or natural gas? Do we have any impact? First one here is transportation may be stalled, exports and imports can be delayed, production will be affected, and next, especially LPG gas is very important in commercial activities. The commercial activities will be getting stalled. And you know, the price of biryani earlier in Ashok Nagar is 100 rupees. From yesterday it is 130 rupees. Do you know this update? No? 130 rupees for one single biryani in Ashok Nagar. Next, food prices will be increased. Closure of these commercial spaces. Closure of hostels. Obviously, it will be having impact on our economy. Okay, so that is the thing, guys. See this next article. Supreme Court to study what constitutes personal data in DPDP laws. If you see this title, we can understand this article is about personal data. Okay, and now Supreme Court wants to study what exactly is this personal data in DPDP law. Okay, now we have to see certain background. Already we discussed about this article earlier. If you can recall or remember something, please tell me, guys. Earlier, I'll give you what is the gist that we discussed in earlier class, and you have to say what is that section is about and what exactly the concerns that we discussed on that day. Now, we have to go back to this RTI. What is this RTI Act full form? Right to Information Act. What is this Right to Information Act tells about? If you want to get any information from the government, you can file RTI by how much rupees? By paying how much amount? 10 rupees. You have to pay 10 rupees and you have to file your RTI. And within how many days you will be getting information? Huh? Within 30 days, you will get information whatever you file. That is about this RTI Act. That is simple. So why this RTI Act came up by the government? So earlier, before this RTI Act, people don't know like what is happening. If they want to get any information, they cannot get any information. So to make governance process accountable and transparent, our government came up with this RTI Act of 2005. So that people are enabled now to get information whatever they want from this government now after filing this RTI application by paying 10 rupees. Okay. So we came up with this DPDP Act in year 2023. Before that, in 2019, one landmark judgment of Supreme Court came. What is that? Right to privacy. What is that case name? Anyone? Yes. Supreme Court in K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India. In this case, K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, Supreme Court said that right to privacy is part of which article? Article 21. What is Article 21? Right to life and personal liberty. So see the timeline. So in 2001, we came up with this RTI Act, which says that yes, people now can get information from government authorities. And in 2019, Supreme Court in this famous judgment of K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, it said that right to privacy is part of Article 21. It is a fundamental right. And later on, we came up with this DPDP Act. Why we came up with this DPDP Act? What happened? One more thing in 2019, we have COVID-19 pandemic. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic, what happened? We started work from home, and from that time onwards, online websites got catch up. And next one is there is increased services through this online websites, and even there is increased use of electronic devices because of online learning, because of online working, everything. So because of this, now what happened? So if you want to download any app, it says that after downloading, it will ask you the permission for your gallery, for your messages, for your photos, everything. We will not read all those things and just will click I accept. So what happens? That company will be having access to our entire details which are stored in your mobile. It may be contacts, it may be your mails, it may be your photos, everything. You're only giving permission, right? So because of this, what happens? Now there is increased issue of cyber security threats. Okay, and your data is having access to that so and so company. So because of this, now we have to ensure right to privacy, because your photos, your data, everything, it is your right to privacy only. No, so if you are giving permission for that so and so app, what is happening here? Right to privacy is getting affected. So because of this, in 2000, at that time, we have one committee called as B.N. Sri Krishna Committee. Okay, at that time we have this B.M. Sri Krishna Committee which had been established to look over this privacy issues, cyber security issues, and increased online data related things. Okay, then B.N. Sri Krishna Committee said that yes, we have to protect this personal information or personal data so that we can ensure right to privacy. Right to privacy can be protected only if we are making any law which is protecting your personal data. Okay, so this is in 2019. The recommendations gave by the Sri Krishna committee, and after that many a times we introduced this bill from 2019. In 2023, finally this bill had been passed and it became an act under DPDP Act of 2023. Okay, so now we enacted our law. Under this, we came up with certain rules. Now, these rules we came up in this 2023 is now interfering with this RTI Act of 2005. So if you're reading the today's title only means you cannot understand what is this. You have to see what is the background. So if you know the background, then only you can understand the topic better. So for that reason only I am telling from 2025 till 2023 what happened. So here what is happening here, whatever the rules we came up in this DPDP Act, it is interfering with RTI. So now I'll tell you how it is interfering. So first one here is RTI Act 2025 gives power for the people to get information. So if there is any corruption case, if there is any information that we need to get of any public officer or any government officer to understand it better. So if you want to get any information of government officer, in case if it is having larger public interest, if it is of larger public interest, now government has to reveal this information regarding that government officer. That is before DPDP Act 2023. But now after this DPDP Act, we are enacting one section called as Section 8(1), and it is saying that whatever the public interest, we are not going to reveal this information. So now government cannot reveal information of any public officer or government officer because of this DPDP Act. So now there are many corruption cases, many criminal cases, many civil cases where these public officers are also involved. Yes? So because of this, now many petitions are filed in Supreme Court that why you are not giving information, even though if they are involved in any frauds or in any kind of activities, if you are not revealing this information means it will be not right. So because of this, the petitions are filed in Supreme Court, and now this article is saying that Supreme Court will study what includes in this personal data. Okay, because of this it is in news. So if Supreme Court give the judgment, then again we have to see from 2005 to 2026 series of these events and what Supreme Court exactly said, and you have to see about if Supreme Court gives any judgment related to what exactly this personal data includes, again we have to see what will be the impact on the society, whether the judgment of Supreme Court is right or wrong. From public perspective we have to think. Okay, so all these things that you have to see, guys. Have you understood now? Okay, now let us see exactly what is given in this article. Supreme Court agreed to examine what constitutes, what will come under this personal data under India's new digital personal data law. Because it is saying that we are not revealing information of any officer because we are ensuring Article 21, that is right to privacy. Okay, and if you see the background here, Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 enacted in 2023 and introduced several amendments related to new data privacy framework in our country. The first one here is this act amends Section 8(1) subclass J of Right to Information Act. So this section is dealing with disclosure of personal information of an officer. So we are amending this. So before this act is under this section, if we want to get information of a public officer or a government officer by giving a reason that yes, it is important for the larger public interest, government has to give. But now after this amendment, strictly they are prohibiting giving information by giving only one reason, it is right to privacy, it is Article 21 fundamental right. So because of this, many petitions had been filed before Supreme Court now. Are you understanding? So that is the thing, guys. Nothing more than that. So what are the key issues they find? Transparency versus privacy. So here, being transparent in governance system is a fundamental right, and even right to privacy is also fundamental right, which said by Supreme Court. So now the issue is going on between transparency versus privacy. Okay, next one here is there will be impact on anti-corruption efforts. So earlier, if you're disclosing the information related to this public servant like assets, liabilities, any records of criminal cases like that, means we can ensure transparency and accountability, and we can also control this corruption to some extent in our society. But if there is blanket ban on this giving of information of this public officer, means yes, inside we can see that there might be a corruption. Because of that, they are not disclosing this information. Okay, so these are the two key issues that you have to see, guys. And now let us see about this DPDP Act, Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. It passed in August 2023, and it is a framework for protecting digital personal data. Okay, and I want to tell you one thing. So what is a personal data here is, according to this DPDP Act, so if there is any information which is available, through that information, if we can identify you, that is called as personal information. So what comes under this is name, your physical characters like height, weight, and next one is the place where you are residing, your house number, like that. If you are getting that information, can we identify you or not? So if there is any information through which we can identify a person, is called as personal data. If any information, if you are having, if with that information, if we can't identify you, that is called as impersonal data. And this Digital Personal Data Protection Act is focusing on protection of your personal data like color, your height, your weight, your name, where you are residing, everything that will be protected in our country by this DPDP Act. Okay, and this act which explains about the duties of organizations which are handling such data. For example, if you go to any hospital, for sure there you will be registering your name, your age, your weight, your BP, and your diseases, or why you are going to hospital. So if they gave any medicines to you, everything is now computerized, everything is stored in a computer in hospital. If that data is leaked outside, is that good for you? No. That means our government has to take care of how the data collectors are using your data, whether they are misusing your data or whether they are protecting your data. It is responsibility of government, right? So for that only they came up with this DPDP Act, but it is interfering with this Right to Information Act of 2005 now. Clear? And next one is this DPDP framework also aligns with Right to Information Act, and they are focusing that we have to balance privacy rights with the public right to information. And important core principles are, first one here is, whenever you are giving your information, they have to take your consent, like why they are collecting your data and where they can use your data. Okay, how they are storing your data, how can they ensure that this data is not coming outside. So for that, consent is very important. Consent is nothing but they will tell everything, and you have to keep this sign, that is called as consent. And next one here is, they have to ensure about transparency, and they have to tell about the limitations, where exactly they can use and where they cannot use this, because nowadays data become an engine of economy. Because you know, this black marketing, everything, black website, dark website, there the data is sold and they will be getting certain money. No idea. Okay, very good. So here they have to say about even the limitations where they cannot use your data. And next one is data minimization, accuracy, storage. And one more thing here is, I think everyone, you have WhatsApp, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, like that, no? So those are MNC companies. That means the parent company is there in other countries. So if we are giving our data there, so if you want to create an account, we have to give our data, right? We will be giving our mail ID, we will be giving our mobile number, we will be getting OTPs, everything, right? So we are giving our data voluntarily for that so and so organization. So what if those countries are misusing your data? Is that right? And even the social media platforms will also upload our personal data, like images we can upload videos, everything, right? So what if that so and so parent company which is in US, which is taking your data and misusing your data? Is that right? So here under this DPDP Act, there is one provision that if any company which is collecting data in India, they have to store the data only in India. Why? Because if there is anything, something wrong which happened means our Indian laws can apply if that data is present in India. If that data is shifted to US means can our Indian laws will be applied in land of US? No. So because of that only we came up with this DPDP Act, and one important provision is data protection and data storage. Data storage should be there in India only. So whatever the company it may be, if they are collecting data of Indians, that should be stored in India. That should not cross the borders of India. Okay, that is the thing, guys. See this next article. India co-sponsors resolution passed by UNSC against Iran. Okay, what is the keyword? First one is United Nations Security Council, in short UNSC. Okay, first one is UNSC and next one is resolution. I think you might have heard about this word resolution even in your polity also. For example, for the removal of speaker, the resolution should be passed. What is a resolution? Huh? Tell me, that is right, come on. Voting. After giving that resolution, we'll do for voting. First, we have to come up with a resolution. What is this resolution? Huh? Yes, it is a proposal. Why we want to and what we want to do. That is a proposal. For example, in removal of the speaker also, first of all, we need to come up with a resolution. And in our yesterday's or day before yesterday's class, we discussed that resolution is very, very simple and it should have direct points, right? It should not be like a thesis. What exactly you want, that should be there in the resolution. It is nothing but a proposal, what we want. So now here a resolution we came up in this UNSC, it is against Iran. Why against Iran? In West Asia, issue is going on between Israel, Iran and US also included in this. US along with Israel started attacking this Iran. Why these two started attacking Iran? Because of 3 to 4 reasons that we discussed. Yes. And now in retaliation, Iran is attacking bases of US which are located in different countries in West Asia. It may be Saudi, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, so different countries. Okay. Now what happened because of that? Entire this Asian part and world is getting suffered because of lack of oil and as well as energy is affecting. So because of this, what happened? Now take example of India itself. Because of this LPG shortage, do we have peace? Fighting is also happening. Why you are increasing this price? And hostels had been closed in many areas. Food outlets had been closed. So because of this, can we ensure peace here? If this situation continues for 1 month, what happens? Now only the situation is like this. Can you imagine situation after 1 month or 1.5 or 2 months or 3 months if this go on like this? Then what happens? There will be rise of protest. Will people be silent? They will come outside and they will start protesting against the government. And you people also start protesting against your hostel owners. Why there is no breakfast? We are paying fee. We are paying money. Will you be silent? No. So here, if you want to ensure peace and as well as stability, not only in India but across the world, so we have to use this kind of international organizations which are known for establishing peace, right? So in this United Nations Security Council, now we came up with a resolution, and this resolution is about to stop this kind of attacks by Iran on this other West Asian countries. Why the stopping of this war or coming up of a ceasefire is very important? To ensure production of oil and as well as gas, and they have to supply to other countries so that other countries will be in a peace position, right? So that is about this resolution. Are you understanding? So here you may get a question regarding this UNSC. Consider the following statements regarding United Nations Security Council, and they may give around 3 to 4 statements regarding that. Okay, clear? So now let us see this article, and from Main's point of view, you have to see about what is the interest of India. Okay? So India co-sponsored a Gulf Cooperation Council, and this resolution came up by GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council. Please make a note. So today, write down the facts of GCC. So which are the countries part of GCC, when it was established, what are the objectives of this GCC? Already UPSC asked question 2020 or 2021. In these 2 years once they asked question, and this time for sure you may get a question regarding GCC. So how you can get a question is, consider the following countries. Which of the countries are part of GCC? That is the first possible question which asked earlier. And next one is, they may ask you a question about this. Consider the following statements regarding the GCC, and they'll give you 4 to 5 statements, like when it was formed, which declaration, and which are the founding members, what is it. You may get this kind of question. You have to see this GCC and keep star mark. Students who are writing 2026, keep star mark. Okay, done here. Okay, and next one is, not only this GCC countries, 134 countries across the world, they want to stop this. Then you can understand how far the impact of this issue is there on different parts of the world. Okay, 134 countries, they demanded for immediate cessation of all attacks by this Islamic Republic of Iran against its GCC countries like Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi, UAE and Jordan. On all these countries, immediately Iran has to stop this kind of attacks. So this is supported by around 134 countries, and India along with this GCC co-sponsored this resolution. You know about this thing. Okay, now let us see what are the key provisions of this resolution. This resolution condemns Iran's attacks on Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi, UAE and Jordan. And you're saying that because of this kind of attacks, it is violation. Breach means nothing but violation of international law. And it is also a serious threat to international peace and as well as security. And they are demanding immediate cessation of all kinds of attacks by Iran. And next one here is, why this kind of resolution came up here is, they are targeting especially civilians. In recent attack, they attacked one school which is of girls. Around 150 school girls died in that attack. So you can understand, like, the civilians are losing life who are innocent. The school girls, what they know? They don't know anything, and they didn't involve in any kind of activities, but they lost their life because of this kind of attacks. So what is happening here is, lots of human rights violation is also happening. So to control that, for sure we need to have this kind of immediate ceasefire. And next one here is, even they said about the Strait of Hormuz, Bab el Mandab. So these areas, they are mainly targeted and they are closing this, so that what is happening, it is affecting trade, and not only that, sovereignty, territorial integrity of this Gulf Cooperation Council countries is also getting affected. So because of this, they came up with this proposal of ceasefire. And what is the impact here? This is one of the diplomatic victory for this GCC, because supporting by more than 134 countries is not a small thing. Okay, that is a diplomatic victory. And next one here is, if this is passed, if the ceasefire is done, means obviously we can ensure the supply of oil and as well as gas, so that we can control the situation. And next one is, yes, India is having its own interest, because we have 19 millions, right? 9 millions or 19 millions? 9 millions. How many Indians are there in that region? 9 millions or 19? I'm getting confused. 9 only, right? Okay, around 9 millions of Indian diaspora is there in this West Asia. So we have to protect them for sure. That is the one reason. And next one is, we have invested a lot in this Iran's Chabahar port and other projects in this West Asia to connect Europe. And if you want to complete that, and if you want to decrease the losses on that kind of investment, obviously we have to have this kind of ceasefire, guys. Okay, if you see about this United Nations Security Council, it is one of the 5 principal organs of United Nations, and this is the organization which mainly focuses on establishing of peace and stability across the world. And it had been established under United Nations Charter, very, very important. So earlier, if you see 2025 and 2024 paper, They gave about organizations like BIMSTEC, and they asked through which declaration it was formed, Bangkok Declaration, like that. So here this United Nations Security Council had been found under United Nations Charter. You have to remember this kind of keywords. So if you say this PYQs, then we can understand like exactly where the loopholes are used by UPSC. Okay, United Nations Charter led to the formation of United Nations Security Council. And next, if you see the members, we have how many members? UNSC members, very important. 15 members. Out of this, we have 5 are permanent. They are called as P5 countries. And other we have 10 members who are temporary members. And what is the tenure of temporary members? 2 years. 2 years is the tenure for this temporary members, and every year for 5 countries the elections will be done. Okay, and India served more than 8 times as temporary member of this United Nations Security Council. Okay, now the problem here is one more important thing that you have to remember is this P5 countries have veto power. Veto power means nothing but if they say no, then that will be cancelled. The problem here in this present resolution against Iran is supported by 134 plus countries, but 2 countries they didn't support it and they abstained from this resolution. Guess which are those? Yes, China and Russia. And these 2 countries are this P5 countries. So if they say no means this resolution will be not passed. Again, what is happening here? There may not be any ceasefire if these 2 countries are not accepting this resolution. So because of this, what is happening? Even though 134 plus countries are supporting this, if these 2 countries are not supporting, this resolution will be dropped. Because of this, the functioning of United Nations Security Council is getting affected. So how can you get a mains question here is, nowadays multilateral organizations are losing its relevance. Comment. This is one example you can write. So this organization function is itself is establishing peace and security. But is it providing that for sure? No. 134 plus countries are supporting, but because of these 2 countries, it cannot do anything. They are dropping this resolution. So this will be your mains based question. Are you understanding? Okay guys. And you have to see about representation. Africa and Asia have only 5. From Eastern Europe only 1 member. From Latin America 2 members. 2 members from Western Europe and others. And you have to remember the headquarters in New York. UNS headquarters in New York. On this headquarters also they may give you a statement. Okay, clear? Now let us see the next article. Parental income alone cannot set creamy layer status. What is this creamy layer? Why this came into existence? Have you heard about this creamy layer? Creamy layer, non-creamy layer. Whenever you come under this non-creamy layer, then only this reservation will be applied. Okay. How many of you completed reading polity? How many of you completed reading polity? At least revision classes. Very good. No one? How many tests you wrote, guys? You're saying like this means where should I go? Okay, see here. We have a concept called as reservation. Okay, what is the meaning of reservation? We are reserving certain seats for certain group of people or category of people. Okay, if you see in our society, we have economically rich people are there. Some are economically weak people. And we have socially good people and socially backward people. And we have politically good people. That means the people who are the part of this political parties and they are having the experience of forming the government, everything, are politically sound people. And we have politically backward people. So if the people who are belonging to this economically good, socially good, politically good, Yes, they have money and they can come forward. Already they are like forward moving people in our society. But these people who are socially, economically, which are weak, means they cannot have that much investment they can keep in the education so that they can move forward. So for that kind of people, so now government will be providing certain reservation. So in this reservation, government will be providing reservation in two areas. First one is education and second one is jobs. Why government is providing the reservation for certain category of people is to ensure social and as well as economic justice for the people. So for that reason only we came up with this concept of reservation. And this reservation concept is present in which articles of our constitution? Article 15, 16. Article 15 and 16 talks about reservation can be provided. And this reservation is also called as affirmative action. Yes or no? Affirmative action. Because historically these people are getting vulnerable and they are backward and we have to bring them forward to the mainstream society. So because of this they came up with this reservation. So this reservation concept is permanent concept? No, it is temporary. So till how many years they came up with this reservation? Till 20? Whenever we drafted this constitution, till which year? We said that for 10 years. Later on, we are coming up with amendments and we are increasing this reservation concept in our country. So here you have to say about what is the latest amendment which talked about reservation extension until which year we are going to have this reservation. Okay. So here normally reservation will be provided for OBCs, EWS category, SCs and STs, right? So for OBCs, how much percentage of reservation is provided? Yes, 27 percentage of reservation for other backward caste. And which commission gave this recommendation? Any idea? Yes, very good. Mandal Commission came up with this recommendation that 27 percentage of reservation should be given for this OBC category. And what is about EWS? How much amount? 10 percentage. So what is the Amendment Act? 103. Yes, 103 Amendment Act says that for this 103 Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, we have to provide 10% of reservation for this EWS category. And for SC, how much percent? ST, how much percent? Again, confusion. 7, 5, 8. SC, 7? 17 or 18? 7.5 will be there for about SC. Okay. So today, try to see about SC percentage of reservation and ST percentage of reservation in the government jobs and education today. Okay. Now what happened in this OBC, in this EWS also, in this OBC, for example, let us take this OBC here. OBC is nothing but other backward caste. We have BCA, BCB, BCC, BCD. We have different categories, right? In that OBC, that is clear. So in this OBC people also, some are having someone's parents are doing government jobs already, like they have constitutional post. Someone is having like government job. Someone is working in this armored police forces, like that. Someone are like normal day to day. Someone are doing business, like that. Someone are day to day wage earners also. So here in this also there are different kinds of occupation will be done by that families. So if we are providing reservations for everyone equally under this OBC category for 27%, is that right? Already here in this we have economically good sound parties are there, and there are certain people who are like very very poor. So here what government did is, based on certain criteria, we are dividing this OBC into two categories, creamy layer and next one is non-creamy layer. Why creamy layer, non-creamy layer is, who wants this kind of reservation should be targeted, and we have to give this reservation only for that people only. That is this concept of creamy layer and non-creamy layer. So creamy layer is nothing but these people are economically sound, so that there is no need of reservation. They can pay their fees. in the colleges. And here this non-creamy layer are the people who are economically very poor, who cannot afford for this education, so that they need to get certain help from the government. So here reservation is applicable only for the people who comes under this non-creamy layer. Okay, so everyone knows only one thing. So how can we differentiate whether you come under that creamy layer or non-creamy layer is income of that family, right? So what should be the income? Okay, they came up with the ceiling amount of 8 lakh rupees. If your income is like less than 3 lakhs, 8 lakhs, you will come under non-creamy layer. If this is more than 8 lakhs, then you will become under creamy layer. So this is the thing that we know. So, okay, so this is the basic. Now let us come and let us see this article, what is happening now and what is the background. So you are preparing for this UPSC civil service examination, right? While you are filling, everyone had filled your application, right? Maximum, most of the class members. Yes, if you had filed here, they will be asking whether you come under, if you are from OBC category, they will ask you whether you are from creamy layer or non-creamy layer. If you keep this creamy layer, then you will be coming under general category only. If you are keeping under non-creamy layer, then only the reservation age relaxation is applicable to you. That is the thing that you know, right? Yes. So there are many petitions which are filed in this Supreme Court regarding this creamy layer of OBC. Okay. So what is the issue here is, they said that if the parents are working in this public sector undertakings and as well as banks and even private organizations, if their income is more than 8 lakhs, they are not getting the reservation under this OBC category. So here they said that, yes, several candidates argued that they were wrongly categorized. Even if they are working in this PSUs, if their parents' income is less than 8 lakhs, they are again considered as general category. So because of this, many a times the students are wrongly categorized as belonging to creamy layer, because the sole reason is the parents are working under private sector undertakings, banks, etc. And these cases had been filed in many courts like High Courts of Madras, Kerala High Court, Delhi High Court, and they accepted the claims and they said that, yes, we have to change this thing. That is the thing which mainly said by High Courts. And the same thing which had been appealed to this Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave this judgment that, yes, solely taking the income of the parents is not only the criteria to decide whether that student is belonging to the creamy or non-creamy layer. We have to take certain other criteria also. That is the thing which mainly said here. So if you see what is the criteria, so we have around categories 1 to 6. You have to know this, and on this also you may get a question, and you are preparing for this UPSC and you are saying that whether you are belonging to creamy or non-creamy layer, so that you have to know this criteria for sure. So we have criteria 1 to 6 and we have to divide it into 1 to 5 and 6. 6 alone is talking about income of parents. Only 6 category is talking about income of parents. That only the thing that we know. Apart from that, we have 5 other categories. We have to see whether they are belonging to these categories or not. First one here is, if the children of the parents who are holding constitutional posts like president, vice president, governor, they will not come under non-creamy layer because their parents are holding constitutional post. Next one is group A or class 1 officers, either in central government or state governments, who are direct recruits. They will not come under, again, non-creamy layer, second one. Third one is group B, class 2 officers who are direct recruits. They will not come. And this one is equivalent high post, like group A and group B related or equivalent post in PSUs, banks, armored forces, judiciary. They are also not coming under non-creamy layer. Next one is armored forces equivalent to group A or group B. They will not come under this non-creamy layer. So here we have other posts. What are the other posts? Group C is there and group D is there. Group C and group D government officers, they will come under non-creamy layer. That is the first thing. And next one is, for example, I got a job in group C or group D. Later on I got promotions and I went to this group B and group C. then my children will also not come under creamy layer. Why? Because I got direct recruit under group C or group D. But because of what happened, because of promotions, I got this group C and group A now. So because of this, here always you have to see that direct recruits of group A, group C, group B will not come under non-creamy layer, but group C and group D, and from there the promotions to this group A and group C can come under this non-creamy layer. So only they will be seeing that whenever your parents are entering into the job, what is the salary of them? That is the thing that you have to see. Okay, so if these children who are belonging to this kind of parents, then they will be not coming under creamy layer. So that is the thing which mainly highlighted by the Supreme Court. It said that we have to see all this 1 to 5 categories also to decide whether that student comes under this OBC category or not. Only solely income of parents will not be the deciding factor. So here if you see the 6th category, it applies only to the status based category, do not cover PSUs or private jobs or lower grade post. So here they says about the gross annual income. Gross annual income should not exceed 8 lakhs for 3 consecutive years, not only this year. From last 3 years onwards, your income should not be more than 8 lakhs. Okay, and next one here is agriculture income is exempted here. Okay, so these are the things which mainly said by the Supreme Court. Yeah, see this guys. And next one is children of group C and group D employees are generally non-creamy layer, even if they are promoted later, or if they are getting more income after getting promotion also, they will not come under creamy layer. Clear? Okay, that's what if you whenever you are filling your form also, they will be asking you group 1 or group B or armed forces, whether it are direct recruits or indirect recruits. If you have gone through the form, they clearly given all these things, but we will not see all those things. No. Okay, see here, next article, preparing India for a true innovation-led economy. Okay, so this article is talking about our private sector participation. So this article is saying that India have an ambitious goal of Viksit Bharat 2047. It is nothing but developed country status for India by 2047. So if we want to achieve this target, for sure, we have to focus on entry of private sector in every arena of our economy, like manufacturing, like infrastructure, everywhere we have to ensure that private sector is involving. The problem here is there is very less private sector participation in our economy, in our country, especially in this R&D, research and development area. So most of this R&D investment is done by government rather than the private. But if you see other countries like US, Japan, China, so there will be a significant amount of investment of private sector in R&D, but that is not the case with India. So that is the thing which mainly highlighted here. Okay, if you see the facts which are given in this article, India's R&D expenditure is just 0.65%. It is the lowest in all these BRICS nations, and this BRICS is one of the previous question 2025. Okay, so you have to see that grouping also. And next one here is patent filings. So do you know this patents? Patents, publications in your after your graduation, whatever the project you do, you have to publish that. How many of you published? Only one. Very good. What about others? Everything is fake. So here patent is very important. Patent, if you are having number of patents, what happens? The authentication, innovation, that is a one marker we can see. But in India, patents are very, very less. Okay, that is also one problem. And next one here is international patents are furthermore less in India. And in this global innovation ranking also, India's ranking is poor compared to that of other countries. So if you want to improve all these things, we have to go for good investments and as well as good policies to attract private people. So that's the thing that you have to remember. So here you have to see, like you have to collect the data why there is very less participation of private sector in research and development. And next you have to see what are the measures taken by the government so far. Recently we have this Shanti Act. No, what is Shanti Act talks about? Allowing private sector in production of nuclear energy, and we are going for promotion of small modular reactors. So despite of that also, there is very less participation of private people in this nuclear sector. Why? What do you think so? Why there is very low participation of private people? Think that. Okay, so that is the thing, guys. Nothing more than that. We have to increase that private sector participation. Then only we can increase innovation in our country. See this next article: women's political participation in India. Everything is given in graph format only. So see here. In 2024, if you see 1957, at that time we had good presentation. But here, what is happening here? Gradually decreasing of women participation in Lok Sabha elections. This graph it is about Lok Sabha elections. And next one here is year-wise number of women MPs elected in Lok Sabha. Here it is increased to some extent. And here in this graph, they gave about what are the reasons why women are not having good participation in this politics. First reason here is patriarchal structure. Patriarchal structure is nothing but male dominant society. We are living in this male dominant society. That is a one important reason. Next one is household responsibilities are increasing on women, and women is having dual burden. They have to take care of their home and they have to take care of their house, like me. And next one is individual barriers. Every individual have their own barriers. And next one is cultural norms. That means if you are a woman in the society, your work is this only. If you are a woman, you have to cry. Men, you should not cry. Like that. And next one is financial or structural constraints are there for women. And next one is if women are entering into politics, there will be lots of negative image on women. I think you might have seen that. Negative image, rumors, and lots of things will be there in the society it's at present. So here, because of this negative image of politics for women, so because of these reasons, women are not participating actively in politics like in other arena. So you have to make a note of this. This is about reasons women, or these are the reasons by which women are prevented from joining politics according to the survey which had been made. Okay guys, that's it guys, nothing more than that. So here this article is saying that post-independence electoral participation showed clear gender disparities. After, as soon as we got independence in 1950s, you can see there is a very high percentage of female participation. See here, red is female and blue is male. So there is a more participation of women in Lok Sabha elections in 1957. But by this 2024, you can see the percentage is less. Okay, so here nowadays we can see that there is lots of disparities of women participation. Okay, so that is the thing which mainly given here, and especially from 1980s onwards there is a decreasing of women participation, there is increasing of gap between men and women. And next one here is even when we take into account this voter turnout also, women participation in this polling of elections is also less compared to that of men. And next one here is there is representation of women in parliament and as well as state legislature is also like the gap is increasing day by day. So we have to see that as soon as possible this reservation of women in Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly had to be implemented. That is 106 Constitution Amendment Act. So this article is indirectly talking about this 106 Constitution Amendment Act, and the question came in year 2023, I guess 2023 only in prelims. So now again, because of that kind of articles are there in news, in 2026 prelims also you can expect question related to this reservation and as well as this Nari Shakti Adhiniyam Act. So see that once. Okay, see the prelims questions guys. First one, consider the following statements about CRISPR-Cas9. Regarding this CRISPR-Cas9, there was question 2019 in prelims. You may expect once again question. So because of this, I came up with this question. It is from Science and Technology. Read out the statements. First one is, it is a gene editing technology. And anthropology students, I think you might have know about this. Second one is, it allows scientists to modify DNA sequences in living organisms. Third one is, it is mainly used only for plant breeding. If it is only used for plant breeding, why we had discussed in anthropology? Yes, the simple technique logic. So it is not only used in plant breeding, wherever we want, we can use this CRISPR-Cas9. Especially we discussed about this CRISPR-Cas9 when we discussed about genetical diseases which can be cured, right? Okay, what is the answer? Answer is it is gene editing technology. It is right. And next one is it can modify gene sequences in our DNA. So answer is A, 1 and 2 only. And see this next question. Consider the following statements about biodiversity hotspots. Environment is done. No, let us check your memory. First one, a biodiversity hotspot must have at least 1500 endemic vascular plant species. Yes or no? Second one, it must have lost at least 70% of its original habitat. Next one, India has 4 biodiversity hotspots, and it's PYQ also. If you have done this PYQ, they asked about what are the features of a biodiversity hotspot. What about the second and third? India has 4 biodiversity hotspots. How many biodiversity hotspots are there in India? Huh? Only one? Huh? 4. What are they? Wow, very good. First one is Western Ghats. Second one? Four biodiversity hotspots in India. One is Western Ghats. I'm saying that only. Okay, online students, please tell me what are the 4 biodiversity hotspots in India. And by this, I'm concluding, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this class, please do hit the like button and please do share this class to your friends. And please do subscribe to the Authors IAS Academy. And if you want to join our academy and if you want to start your preparation for UPSC, we are going to launch a new batch for GS Prelims cum Mains Foundation this week, guys. So please do join as soon as possible. And we are providing on online and offline. And if you have any queries, please do contact us on this number 8074765513. And if you want to visit our academy, you can come and you can talk to me directly, and I will be available in institutes from morning to evening, guys. Thank you so much.